I'm Rūta, and today we are having a talk with Tania, who is a medicine student here in Vilnius University. And Tania was with us since October. She was participating in many events. She was with us in protests. She was with us in conference, in a parliament press conference. She was giving interview for a foreign audience. And yes, Tania, maybe you would like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Tania, and I'm Irish, but I've been here in Lithuania now for 6 years, and maybe one day I'll leave, but for now I'm I'm still here. As you said, I'm a student, but I'm currently on leave, so I'm having a break from my studies.
So could you please tell us about your experience in Vilnius University as a medicine student? And I know you took a gap year, so what had happened before then?
The reason I took the gap year, well, as we all know, the problems that we've all encountered due to the pandemic, and I had been on. We were studying online for quite some time. I think 3 semesters, maybe almost 4. So at the beginning of September last year, we were all really excited to get back to study, and we were told that we would need to be vaccinated and show our opportunity pass, our COVID vaccination pass, to go to university. So this was, you know, that we were given options at the start. It sounded quite okay that, you know, you didn't have to be vaccinated, you could be tested, you know, there were options, you know, but it didn't quite work like this, as a lot of us found out. So when I tried to go back to study, I got sick. So it turned out that so you get sick, it's okay, you can't come to university, so you think everything's going to be okay, but there was no provisions for this if you weren't vaccinated, because of course if you were vaccinated you didn't have to test, so it didn't matter, you know. This is where it, you know, you realize you didn't have a choice really in, you know, this choice was taken away from you. So if you were sick, and even if you were sick for a few days, you got better and you were vaccinated, that was fine. But it sounds okay, you get sick, you go and have a test. But in Lithuania, you know, there was a real shortage of testing centers. So you couldn't get a test. Even if you registered for one, you would have to wait. This was free. To us, it was offered free, or for your COVID pass, it was offered free. But in reality, you couldn't keep up with the days in between the tests because of the huge demand and the minimal testing centers. You know, you had like one, I think, in Vilnius, and then another one in Vilnius district. So, you know, but they were all really, really busy. So unfortunately, I had missed, I think it was like 5 days of my first course, and I would have had to have repeated it, because how we study individual subjects in modules at a time. So one subject at a time, not, you know, several in one semester all in one go. They're separated into blocks. So, you know, this would have meant 2 subjects at a time, you know, trying to, you know, the times didn't coordinate, you would have missed it. So it was just unworkable. So
as for medicine students, I think you were even pushed stricter than other students, is it true?
Well, there was no provision for online learning in September. So even though we had been online learning for nearly, was it a year and a half, nearly 2 years, there was no provision. If you weren't vaccinated, or you didn't test, you could not study. You couldn't come in. There was no options for you. And I believe later on, everyone did go back to online learning. But the conditions were made stricter. You needed to have had a vaccination within, I think it was 2 months, or you would have needed to have a booster. So it became quite. It was very difficult, but there was no options unless you paid for your testing. And with regard, there was nowhere to get rapid testing either. There was very limited places that offered this fast test. So you had no choice. You either recovered at that time or you were vaccinated. There was no choice.
So what was your last job when you decided to,
I couldn't do it. I couldn't keep up with it. I'm a mother. I have children. So, I just had a baby. So I was lucky that in a way, for me, it was a blessing, because I could take my, instead of putting myself through all of that stress, trying to find somewhere to get tested every 3 days, that it just wouldn't have happened. It gave you no options. It basically, your whole time would have been trying to find somewhere to go and get tested, travel to wherever it was, whichever testing center, when trying to get home, or, it could be before university. I know people did have a tough time, they just had to take whichever slots they got. And if you didn't get it in time, you couldn't go in, you couldn't go into university. So for me, I think once I removed myself from that situation, actually a lot of stress went, because it seemed illogical in some ways. So
did you encounter any, I don't know, unpleasant situations, or I don't know, opinions from professors that you were not taking the vaccine and keeping your position?
I think that, there was a negative aspect of the, well, it's your fault because you're not vaccinated. So, what do you want us to do about it? So you had this, you had that, but I think this is all part of it. It's not normal to be showing, sorry about my dog, it's not normal to be showing or talking about your medical conditions with your teacher, basically. So, this released, I suppose, you behave one way in society and you don't project your personal thoughts upon people, but it was like everything was unleashed and everyone could just say whatever they wanted to you because you were wrong, and you could
not say basically anything.
I couldn't say anything, but everyone could, unload their opinions upon me. Yes. So the administration staff were lovely, actually. They were nice. That nobody ever, within the university ever said anything negative to me. I never experienced this. And I think that as well, people within the university, it was only at the very last moment, because they were trying to come up with ways, and they were quite positive that there would be, if you do not want to be vaccinated, you can study at small groups online, and if you get sick. But I don't know what happened. It didn't materialize. I think the decision was taken from them to help,
Yeah, but on the other hand, as a medicine student, to keep studying online, it's something I think
no, it's not normal. You're not getting the feeling. You're not, it's not the same as, just sitting there looking at videos or listening to somebody talking. Mm-hmm.
And another interesting point I think we can talk about, you know a lot about what is happening in Ireland, in UK, what was happening during the year. So I know you have some interesting points to raise here. So could you?
Yeah, it it was the opposite. So in effect, your health decisions were given to you. So if I know a friend of mine studying medicine in London, if they got sick or they had a close contact, there was no huge issues. You tested yourself at home with a quick test, and you gave the result. You had the power over your health, as opposed to, you know, this control upon yourself and having to produce documents. So it was completely different. So there was no, you know, they just did home learning until they were better, and they went back into the hospital. And I think what they had done, they didn't study online for long, but they just reduced the size of the groups. So they split it, you know, so you went in fewer times in the week in smaller groups. So it seemed to work. And it was, to me, this is logical to do this, as opposed to I don't know, the confusion and stress that was put upon the students here.
Yeah,
and I think
mhm. So they basically never shut down schools and universities?
At the very beginning they did. So like everyone, at the very beginning they did. And I think the complete disruption only lasted maybe from the March until the end of that semester. And then after that, they just, reduced the amount of time in groups. So maybe they lost some hours, but they were still going in, just in smaller numbers, so everyone could go in, and people, weren't just all the time studying online.
So what was the opinion about the unvaccinated students there?
I don't suppose there was one, because nobody really knew. Now we know that they did try to bring out mandatory vaccination, and they asked at the time, but the government in the UK decided not to do this. So, no one knew, because whether you were vaccinated or unvaccinated, if you got sick, you took your little test that you get in the chemist, the quick test. So nobody knew. You didn't have to tell anybody.
Okay. And what about Ireland?
In Ireland, it was a bit different. You were still you did have to display your vaccination status, and if in university you weren't allowed to eat in the canteens in the university, or go to the gym. They did this, but you still went. I do know that I know some midwifery students were asked to get vaccinated, but I think now that they have stopped this, so they didn't get vaccinated, and I think that now they have stopped this. So with regard to
okay, so you were telling the story about the labeling students. So was it in Ireland?
In Ireland, students who were unvaccinated were labelled with, the fobs you have for around your neck. So you were displaying yourself as, it was like a pass to say you could go into the canteen or not. But in reality, it was displaying your medical status, basically. Yeah, which I mean, it sounds quite funny, but it's not. It's horrible, really.
It's kind of, I don't know, just like open discrimination of health. So as I understood, you are not going back this semester to your studies.
I think I'm not going to. Because I'm, as I said, I had a baby, so I have that. I have 2 years that I can take, and I think that we don't know what's going to happen still, really. So I'd rather not stress myself out unnecessarily when I can just take my time, sit back and assess what.
Are you still receiving anything from university? Any, I don't know, notifications, letters? any news about the new upcoming year? What are the plans?
I don't know. I haven't, I haven't heard anything. I did ask somebody because I, when I was, will I go back or will I take, another year's leave? And nobody knew. But I mean, the feeling that I get is that people are just like, well, especially international students. It's, even last year, they were like, but I don't have to be vaccinated in my country. Why? I'm coming here and they're asking me to be vaccinated. I don't understand, or, to show a pass. So the feeling I'm getting is that people are like, I only got vaccinated because I was in Lithuania. And why, if they did ask again, people are like, it's very strange, especially within Europe, why it can all be so different, or you're hearing different stories like it. And even in the UK now, there are inquiries. People are allowed to ask questions. You can ask, well, why was this done, how, but I don't know, in Lithuania it seems very different. They're still saying the same thing as they said last year, and even in the UK, you can get money for your vaccine injury. The government have set up a fund, and it's like it's in I don't know. It's like Lithuania seems to be in a bubble that is separate from everywhere else. So I think that for international students, maybe there would be more questions. For some, not for everyone. Obviously, that's their choice, and they're happy to do it. But.
Yeah. Okay, I see. So in the UK, you can get even money for side effects.
Yeah, so you for side effects, for deaths, because obviously people have died, and you can't hide from this. So the deaths where people, the coroners have said the person died of this, and they've already given money already, so they've already started to compensate the people that were injured. And I think that this is the right way to do it, to talk. You have all the information there and you understand, and you can make that decision. But to say everything's okay and you must do it, but no discussion and no acceptance that something might happen and there will be compensation for you if something happens. So I think this is a better way to deal with it.
Do you have any other thoughts on what could have been done differently? You are following everything very carefully, and I believe you have.
I think for me, the one thing I noticed here is if the government had been more understanding, for me this was my biggest shock, was how I was being spoken to by the government. For me, and the authorities, how they spoke to people. For me, this, if they hadn't have done this, if they had been more gentle with people and not so authoritarian, I think that there would have been so much, or offered the quick tests, like the UK did. It would have been such a better experience for everybody, less stress. So
it seems part of the plan, though.
This is my belief, is that it was all done at the last minute. So it was done to give you no options. It's like, oh no, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And this is what you had to do. Well, they told us, you've had enough time, you have to go and be vaccinated now. We've bought them for you.
It's your choice.
Yes, but it's your choice.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think that was if there had been less, you must do as we say, I think that society would have been more relaxed, and I think that people would have complied more with everything and not pushed back so much. You would have said, oh, okay, and then if you'd have answered the questions and not so much labeling of people, and I think that
I feel that the society got split by their, I don't know, by their decisions, but yeah, I guess it happened around Europe and around the world.
Yeah. So I think, you know, we, like, if you compare, we're not allowed to, but Sweden, you know, even from the very beginning, you know, and I, you know, everyone was so much more relaxed about it. So I think that that was the way to go at the beginning. You know, if we'd have done this, we would have had a lot less stressful members of society.
Exactly, and less bullying and less thing.
Yes, the floodgates of everyone's anger was just, you know, here you go, you can just, you know, say what you like just to the unvaccinated people. And, you know, so of course everyone was stressed, so there was so much more anger in people, so they, you know, this was their release. You know, it's natural to do this. So but
so
it's not
let's hope the upcoming season is better, and
I hope so.
Yeah.
We'll see. We haven't got long, only a month to find out, a month or two. We'll see how
we'll see how further we can go, or hopefully not.
Exactly.
Okay, Tania, thank you very much for the conversation.
That's okay. Thank you as well.
Thank you for talking with me, and have a nice sunny day there.
I will. Thank you. Bye.